So I was
Your name?
John Brownbill, and I was a lieutenant, first lieutenant, with the 3rd Battalion Royal Australian Regiment in the Korean War. And I had my full 12 months there, and 3 days waiting for an airplane back, and then 3 days was hard. And I served in the citizen forces for some years after that. I was a company commander. And what else would you like?
Some of the duties that you had in Korea.
Well, as they used to say, it was a platoon commander's war. We were out doing patrols very nearly every night, and making sure that the opposition didn't get too close to us, and if he did, then he wished he hadn't bothered, because we sorted him out. Yeah. And very growing up time, because I was only 22, and a lot of my soldiers had been in the Second War, and they were 30 years old. And so it was a swift learning curve for a young lieutenant to have all those older men heavily experienced. And I was a reinforcement officer. I went up and replaced an officer who'd been killed. And it was a good place to come back from, but a wonderful experience. Great experience growing up.
I know you have, you have a photographic memory, you said, and you have a photographic memory, you said, and
yes.
I know you can read beyond just on the surface. What do you remember about this war?
Well, I was very thankful that we had air supremacy. We didn't have to worry about air. But I can very vividly remember night patrols and being in positions where we were heavily mortared and shelled by the enemy. I vividly remember that, as I imagine everybody would remember. But being in a position of trust and responsibility to my troops was rather humbling, actually. And so I had a lot to do there, quite a lot of work to do. Try and save their lives as much as possible.
This war never ended, and so many people from all over the world sacrificed their lives, and they died, and even on the other side, and there's no peace and there's no reconciliation.
Do you know, I have a theory that I've never heard mentioned. For years on the continent, the Balkans have always been kept neutral, so that other countries could move through there. Now, I think it suits the Chinese and Russians to have top of Korea, and the Americans, it suits them to have the bottom. Because if the Chinese had the lot, they and the Russians have a jumping point to go over to Japan and America. If America had the lot, or was friendly with them and they were united, they could jump onto China and Russia. So I think, although it's never mentioned, and they say, oh, we'll have to unite, and the Korean people would love it, I think it suits both of those people to have them separate. Have you ever heard that?
No, but I think so too.
That's my personal view.
And Oh, you retired as an army chaplain, right?
I never was an army chaplain. No, I had retired from the army at the age of 60, and I was in the shipping industry. And I suddenly found I could study theology. So I spent 8 years studying it at the theology college part-time because I was in shipping. And during that time, the Victorian Council of Churches put me on the board of Industrial Mission. And I was so impressed with the kind of lot of work there that when I graduated, I became one of their chaplains, on the understanding that I didn't want a managerial job. I wanted to be out helping people. So I had 28 years of that. Now I'm bordering on 88.
And you've seen many veterans pass away.
I buried a lot of them.
I'm just so glad to be here, and I'm so glad that you brought up, about reconciliation and the enemy and just the lives, because I truly believe that every life is precious before God, and we don't choose. We really don't choose who to fight, and.
It's a very complex world, and I think the best one can do is my father was told when he was 5 by his mother. She was a very clever woman. She said, although she had other children, she said, when you grow up, men throughout the world will listen to what you say with regard to your profession. Never ever espouse any cause or sign any document with which your conscience isn't fully at ease. And that's how I was brought up.
I believe that too. Kind of like earlier I said, God, I'm only going to do what my heart tells me to do.
Yeah. That's the goal.
And thank you so much for that.
It helps you to sleep a lot better that way.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I do feel like, even if I don't wake up, even if I go before God, I can say, God, I did my best. I really did. And thank you for the greatest compliment I've ever received in my life. That I will take with me.
And coupled with that, of course, is that you're an exceptionally beautiful woman. So it's very, very, very unique to find a beautiful combination. And I believe the better man for having met you and heard your philosophy.
I pray and hope and dedicate, my life so that.
And what will happen when you go back? How are you going to use this travel? I won't bore you with it. 13 occasions when it's amazing I wasn't killed in various times. And I believe that I was being saved to do the work I'm doing today.
I believe so too. I was just going to say that. I know so, And because you've had many near-death experiences, you can empathize, and you know and understand things that other people can't. And so I'm at a point where I'm grateful that I also experienced a near-death experience and pain, and because even though I was very young, I'm able to just kind of see the invisible pain that many people are experiencing, whether physical or emotional or psychological. And again, one of my great passion is to visit my grandpas and let them know that, because many of them, like I said, they have nightmares, they say, remembering the war. And I say, war is atrocious, and it's ugly and horrific, but out of that bleakness, sometimes you can find roses, and here I am. I could represent some good that came out of the war. So,
and I just cannot believe, having travelled a lot, how a country which was bereft of trees, the Japanese removed them all, which was really just a mud heap. In 63 years, as I say to people flying over Incheon, Busan or Seoul, makes Sydney and Melbourne look like villages, country villages.
No.
And each time, I've been back 6 times, each time there's been so many more improvements. And I remember going back and they'd spent ages, everyone putting trees around everywhere. And I went to show, I was sent over to take some students there and on to Gallipoli. And I was going to show them where the Battle of Kapyong took place. And that was not possible because instead of being able to see 2 miles down the road, I couldn't see more than 20 yards through all the trees they'd put in.
Yeah, it's remarkable, and thanks to your contributions.
From here to the end of the table. And that round, when I was at Kapyong in 1995, they just trimmed some of the trees. And I got the branch off a ginkgo biloba on the B Company position of 3 Battalion at the Battle of Kapyong. And I have that at home.
Wow.
And I'm going to give it to 3 Battalion one day.
Wow.
Yeah.